This week, the chair of one of Congress's most powerful financial committees posed a simple question to America's top financial cop. Is Ether a security? It did not go well.
It depends on the facts and the law, and if there's a group of individuals.
I'm asking you about the facts and the law sitting in your seat and the judgment you are making.
But he didn't stop there. Gensler repeatedly tried to gaslight crypto companies, saying that they should already know the answers to the questions he doesn't want to answer.
It's not a matter of lack of clarity. I think this is a field that, in the main, has built up around non-compliance.
But ask one of the founders of one of the leading blockchains in the world, and that lack of clarity is heartbreaking for an entire industry that just wants to exist within the rules.
It's just very confusing to somebody that, bet their career, right, on building a company in the US with the belief that there is a path here.
This week on Coinage, how Gensler's SEC is gaslighting, gatekeeping, and Garybossing the American crypto industry. This week, the House Financial Services Committee dragged Gary Gensler in front of Congress to tell him about their favorite movies? That can't be right.
A movie that came out in 1974 called Blazing Saddles.
Really? There's nothing else more important you want to discuss?
It's one of my favorite movies. Should have won the Academy Award.
I'll give you one more chance.
Does it concern you, by the way, that your approach to the digital asset industry is actually driving this industry out of the United States?
There we go. But while some representatives managed to ask Gensler sharp questions, Gensler had little to offer beyond slippery non-answers.
We have a minute. Yes or no?
And I believe in congressional oversight, and I know
Okay,
staff's
all right,
working
moving on.
So who is Gary Gensler, and how did he become crypto's public enemy number one? First off, Gary is a Wharton boy. He earned an MBA, rose through the ranks at Goldman Sachs, and became partner at age 30, before jumping to the public sector as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury under famed saxophonist Bill Clinton. He helped write some tough legislation in the wake of the Enron and WorldCom collapses, and in 2009, he became the chairman of the CFTC under a little-known Chicago crooner.
So in love with you.
His mission was to rein in the Wild West of finance. No, not crypto. The market for over-the-counter derivatives. Before the financial crisis, the CFTC had a reputation as a, quote, watchdog that doesn't bark. But Gensler, who ran a 50-mile marathon when he turned 50, demanded just as much sweat from his agency. And as we'll see, Gensler likes rules. As the chair of the CFTC, he wrote dozens of them, expanding the scope of his organization's authority. His enforcement chief once joked, "Gary is not a micromanager. He only called me on nights, weekends, and holidays." So when Gensler was appointed to the role of SEC chair under a noted Despacito disc jockey,
All right.
everyone assumed he would bring a similar approach to the new Wild West of finance, crypto. And Gensler's approach to running the SEC can be explained in 3 words: gatekeep, gaslight, and Garyboss. So let's start with gatekeeping, because Gary has made one of his beliefs very clear. Crypto companies are not playing by the rules when it comes to regulation.
They have chosen, even though it's not the law, they've chosen to be non-compliant and not provide investors with confidence.
Under Gary, the SEC brought 30 crypto-related enforcement actions in 2022, up 50% from the year prior. The SEC scored a $100 million penalty against BlockFi for failing to register its crypto lending product, a $45 million penalty against Nexo for the same thing, and more than $1 million from Kim Kardashian for promoting a crypto token called Ethereum Max without disclosing that she was paid for doing so. And more recently, the SEC brought a lawsuit against the exchange Bittrex, charging it with selling unregistered securities. And in that case, the SEC declared 6 crypto tokens in particular to be securities, including Dash, OMG, and Algorand. Wow! It seems like we'll have to take a closer look at any influencer dumb enough to promote Algorand to their followers.
You could create Uber or Lyft on top of a blockchain technology today. Well, maybe in 5 years you could. It would have the performance. Sylvia McCally's Algorand, who's a Turing Award winner at MIT that I work with. Sylvia's got a great technology that has the performance. You could create Uber on top of it.
Awkward. Gensler has also stated repeatedly that all he wants to do is work with crypto companies who want to operate properly under the SEC's rules. The thing is, it's not totally clear how that's possible. Coinbase is generally considered one of the best companies at following the law, As a publicly traded company in the US, it has no choice. But Coinbase also lists Algorand, aka the coin that got Bittrex in trouble. Does that also mean it's operating an unlicensed exchange? Maybe, but we won't know until Gensler decides to sue. That's probably why Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, is threatening to relocate his company outside the US if the regulatory environment doesn't become any clearer. Just like FTX did, which operated out of the Bahamas. And that went great, right?
I feel really, really bad and regretful.
So Gensler's making it tough for crypto companies to play by the rules. And you can see where he's coming from. The collapses in 2022 certainly caused harm to retail investors across the cryptosphere. But what bothers me is how Gensler gaslights the crypto industry by saying it's their fault for not following the rules, despite the fact that he won't explain exactly what the rules are. Take this example. Gensler's been clear in the past that he considers Bitcoin to be a commodity, which means it's not under the jurisdiction of his Securities and Exchange Commission. But he has continually refused to elaborate on any other tokens, which led to this awkward exchange between Gensler and Representative Patrick McHenry, the chair of the House Financial Services Committee.
Is Ether a commodity or a security?
Without speaking to any one
I know you've
token,
repeatedly
it's
said
a
you're not
matter
going to
of
speak to
facts.
one, except you've spoken to one, Bitcoin. So I'm asking you to speak to a second one, the second largest market cap here.
And speaking to the tokens, there's 10 to 12,000. If there's a group of entrepreneurs in the
I'm asking
middle
about
that the
one.
public is anticipating a profit based on the...
I'm asking you a specific question, Chair Gensler.
Gensler claims he's protecting American retail investors. But amidst his gaslighting, the crypto community finds it hard to take him at his word, especially considering Gensler failed to stop the myriad of collapses that rocked crypto last year. Gensler even met with Sam Bankman-Fried twice as the FTX chief attempted to bring his exchange into regulatory compliance, but reportedly didn't want to hear him out. The co-creator of Dogecoin also tweeted recently that Gensler has, quote, protected us from literally nothing. Well, Anatoly Yakovenko, the co-founder of Solana, told us he couldn't rate the SEC's regulatory clarity any lower on a scale of 1 to 10.
Between the two administrations, like I would say 1, simply because under Hinman, there was like one, there was this idea of decentralization and stuff like that that was like telegraphed by the SEC to the entire space. And now under Gensler, he's trying to walk back on it. It's just very confusing.
Look, there are plenty of founders, myself included, who want to do things the right way. And it's not clear there's any path to do that here without regulatory clarity under the Garyboss. He's had every chance to deliver clear rules and guidelines for crypto players from Coinbase to Dogecoin and passed literally every single time. He even took time to dunk on crypto as lame compared to AI in his opening statement.
The technology that I think is most transformative in our time is artificial intelligence. It's not crypto.
Now, as the host of a community-owned crypto show, I'm inclined to point out that's wrong. But maybe Gary's onto something. What if Coinage stepped in to use AI to prevent crypto from being cast aside in the US by a terribly unclear and unfair regulatory framework? Because here's the thing. At this point, trying to convince Gensler that crypto's worth saving in the US is probably a lost cause. But there's still hope, because we can still convince Congress to lay out rules that let crypto firms operate safely on our shores. And that's where you come in. And no, not by tweeting another anti-Gary shitpost. Here's our call to action instead. Let your representatives hear you. Almost a fifth of Americans have traded or bought crypto, so speak up. You can find your rep's contact in the link in the description below. Contact them and explain why Congress needs to act to protect crypto here. We've even included a ChatGPT prompt in the description to have it write you a custom email using Gensler's favorite tool. Because if crypto companies can't operate here, they'll go elsewhere. And we've all seen it can be much harder to police activity happening offshore. One easy way to keep us on shore, like and subscribe to support our reporting. And if you want to join the Coinage community to help us build crypto's first co-owned media outlet, hit us up at coinage.media. I'm Zach Guzman. This is Coinage. Stay safe out there.